Okay, hi folks. I'm going to show you how to make a kind of alternating treatment or multi-element design graph using Google Sheets. So on my screen now, I've got a graph that I made in Excel that I like quite a bit. When I'm done, I'll point out some of the ways that the graph that I made in Excel is a little bit better. Okay, so let me show you the data that I collected from our functional analysis activity. The client in this case was simulating aggression, and the way that my group member simulated aggression was by tapping a pencil. And then I entered the session number, which condition it was, and the frequency of problem behaviors that I observed in columns A, B, and C. Now, just like we've done before, I'm just going to copy and paste all of this manually. Move down here. But we don't actually need a frequency column, a single frequency column. We want separate columns for each of the functional analysis conditions. So we had an attention condition, and then we want a separate column for the escape condition. We had an extended alone condition, and we had a play condition as a control. And then what I want to do is I've got my sessions 1 through 12 listed in column C. In my case, I only want the numbers, the frequencies recorded in column D to be the frequencies for the attention condition. So 1, 2, and 3, I want to get those out of there. Oops. 4 and 5 can stay in the column they're in column D, but 6, 7, 8, we're going to move. And I'm going to keep doing the same thing. I only want numbers in the column E for escape sessions. So session 1 is good, but I'm going to move session 2 to the play column. I'm going to move session 3 to the alone column. And now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to just remind myself that our dependent variable that we were simulating is aggression. And I'm also going to remind myself that this is a frequency measure. And then very similar to how we've done with other reversal design graphs in single subject graphs in this class, I'm going to highlight the session column and all of the columns that have data. So in my case, that's columns 3 through G and rows 26 through 38. And then I'm going to go to the insert menu. I'm going to select insert, and then I'm going to select chart. And the chart that it gives me is a line chart, which is what I want. It's got a bunch of extra stuff that I don't need. I'm going to get rid of the axis label because I'm going to add that bit back in later in Google Slides because I have a little bit more control over the placement and the font and all of that. I'm going to delete this title. I'm going to leave the legend just for now. Usually what applied behavior analysts do is they will have an arrow pointing to each type of data point with the label. So there would be an arrow to one of the blue data points with the word attention, an arrow to one of the red data points with the word escape, another arrow to one of the yellow data points with the word alone, and an arrow to one of the green data points with the word play. I'm going to go to the chart editor, and just as a reminder, if the chart editor is not active, you can activate it by selecting the chart, mousing over to the upper right-hand corner, selecting the 3 dots, and then choosing the first item on the menu, which is Edit Chart. Now in the Setup menu, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where it says Use column C as labels. That's what I want because my sessions are in column C. I'm going to treat the labels as text. And then I'm going to customize. So I'm going to start with the chart style. And the only change I'm going to make here is that I'm going to get rid of the chart border color. Right now it's got a light gray or a medium gray border. I'm going to choose none. And then I'm going to skip down to series. And right now, apply to all series is selected. So one of the changes that I want to make, that I want to appear in all series, so all 4, attention, escape, alone, and play, is that I want the data points to go from being tiny to being quite big. So under point size, I'm going to switch it from none to 10. Now I can see them all, except for the play ones that are kind of half hidden, which is an improvement. But if someone couldn't discriminate between blue and yellow, for example, or between red and green, then they wouldn't be able to tell which of these data points was which. So to make them a little bit more different, I'm going to change the shape of each one. Just out of deference to any hypothetical person who can't discriminate color, someone who's colorblind, I'm going to make them all kind of black and white. Now I'm going to go back up to where it says series, and what's automatically set by default is whatever changes I make, they apply to all series. But I actually only want to deal with my attention data for starters. And I'm just going to change the shape to a triangle. Now you can see the attention data points are triangles now. And then escape, I'm going to change the line color to be gray to make it a little bit different. And instead of a circle, I'm going to make that a diamond. Ooh. And then for those alone sessions, I'm going to choose a different shade of gray and a different shape just to make them as distinct as possible. So I'm going to make alone a square. And then I can leave play as a circle. Right, so there's my data series. So now what I want to do is scroll down to grid lines and ticks. And we've got the horizontal axis selected by default, but right now we don't have any ticks, so I'm going to add ticks to the horizontal axis. And now I can reformat those ticks. I'm going to make them outside the line, and instead of auto, I'm going to make them a little bit smaller, 6 pixels. I'm not going to change the thickness or the color, although you certainly can if you want. Now what I've done to the horizontal axis, I also want to do to the vertical axis. Right now there isn't a vertical axis, but we have major grid lines, which I don't want, so I'm going to deselect that to make the grid lines disappear. I do want ticks, so I'm going to select that. I'm going to make the ticks cross outside, or the position outside, and the size 6 pixels. And I think I'm fairly happy with that. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do, notice that the play sessions, when there was no problem behavior, those data points are kind of cut off. And this is not a huge deal, but I like to be able to see all of the data. So what I'm going to do is in the Customize tab, I'm going to scroll down to the vertical axis section, and there's a spot to specify minima and maxima. I'm going to make my minimum value -3 and my maximum value 39. And now my axis goes from -3 up to 39, and we can see the tick marks at 0, 10, 20, and 30, which is sort of how I think I want it to be. Okay. All right, so let's compare these two graphs. There are some cosmetic differences. Right? The font is a little bit bigger in the Excel graph. I could make the font bigger in the Google Sheets graph. Neither graph has axis labels. I would add those axis labels in Google Slides. Remember, the x-axis is going to be session, and the y-axis is my dependent variable. So in this case, it's aggression. You could do instances of aggression or just the word aggression. But the big difference is that it's possible in Excel to connect your data points across gaps. So you don't need to have consecutive, you can connect non-consecutive sessions. As far as I know, there's no way to do that in Google Sheets. If anyone finds a way, let me know. I definitely think that with them connected, it's a whole lot easier to see that, for example, in this case, the problem behavior occurred in all conditions except play, but that information is still available on the Google Sheets version. One last thing I might do is get rid of the legend so that I can add in Google Slides my arrows and text boxes. All right, so there you have it. That is the Google Sheets part of using Google Suite to create an alternating treatment graph.